Okay?
The human race is precious. The human species is so unique that they told me when I was with them for 6 weeks, I was asking them question after question after question. I found that they were as interested in me as I was interested in them. And I asked them why. And they says, you human beings don't grasp who you really are. You have a unique genome that is unique in the galaxy. You're made up of the patterns and the parts and pieces and genes and whatever of at least 12 different races in the universe. And as a result of that, we think of you as unique. As a result of that, we look upon your little planet as probably one of the ripest and richest zoological gardens in this quadrant of the galaxy. And that's the first time I realized the galaxy had been divided into 4 parts. I didn't even realize there was a quadrant. And they said, oh yes, you're the most unique and precious zoological garden in this quadrant of the galaxy.
Absolutely.
We venerate the planet, we venerate the flora and fauna on it, and we're going to see that it survives. Now, I'm getting this from the higher level.
I hear you, and I appreciate that. So, Clifford, because both of you have been threatened, both of you have had children who died in most unfortunate circumstances. Isn't this true? And I don't mean to bring up something that is hurtful, but the bottom line here is that you're both whistleblowers. You both came forward. You both put your lives on the line. You've both been threatened in a myriad of ways, okay? And people out there, people need to realize that this is the case. You're not just out there pontificating, you know, talking off the top of your head.
Like what the Sergeant Major was talking about, like I was told, that we are a race on this planet that is capable of such wonderful and beautiful things.
Infinite possibilities.
Absolutely. But yet we have the capability of doing such horrible things to one another. And I think that the Sergeant Major was saying the same as I when, you know, yeah, we have to spiritually grow. We don't spiritually grow, we're going to fall victim to our technology. They don't want that to happen.
Okay.
And initially, the initial contact was to ensure it didn't happen accidentally, because they wanted us to know, you know, the other side's not launching against you. We're here. And you will, from time to time, pick us up on your radar. We will, from time to time, appear to be missiles coming in a threatening way. So you must make sure, before you launch your death and destruction, that you really are under attack. But you must not let this happen. And as we grew, actually, to an understanding, MAD was something that they held over our heads, and MAD was mutual assured destruction. You go ahead and put a surprise attack on the U.S., we'll live long enough to kill you.
You destroy us, we'll destroy you. Yeah.
Absolutely, but we're still dealing with that. In fact, we're dealing with something with Iran right now and Israel, in which we're coming to another one of those situations. And I have a whistleblower right now that I interviewed last night who said that there was a Bay of Pigs situation going on with regard to Iran and Venezuela, with missiles that were supposedly, you know, put into Venezuela by the Iranians, et cetera, et cetera. And they actually said that there were some ETs from off-world that intervened. Now, my understanding is, and people don't realize this, but I also have a whistleblower who used to set up a camera on his deck in LA, and he had it on all the time at night, and he would film the fight, the war going on between us and them. And this was not the Russians, the Chinese, it was off-worlders.
I know, Ed, honey.
And the guy was killed.
I know, Ed. And those weren't wars. Those were operations, those were exercises, but they weren't wars.
Well,
if there were wars out there, if there were cosmic wars going on around our planet, this planet would be in pretty damn dreadful
But
shape.
it is in dreadful.
Well, it's not as dreadful as it could be.
Oh, no, that's not true. And,
Well-
and what do you think the chemtrails are doing? They're covering up, among other things, besides changing the atmosphere to make it better for a hybrid race that the Greys have now created and are going to inhabit this planet on some level.
They will never inhabit the planet.
The hybrid race will.
No, they won't.
This planet is going to be preserved,
They're
Carrie.
human. They're half human.
Yes, but we are human. This is our planet. And in short, what we do with it, it's up to us.
We're the flora on this planet.
That's it.
We're the fauna on this planet.
That's
I
it.
agree. We're the caretakers.
And
Sorry, we're
should there be a hostile force that was to invade us, we would put up a valiant defense. We couldn't win
Oh.
without outside help. But that outside help would come and help neutralize the threat, then leave as immediately as that outside threat, or that threat was neutralized. I know this to be the case. Yes, in early years, we would go ahead. We would go up and attempt to shoot UFOs down. July 26, 1952, an actual order was given to shoot down UFOs.
They revoked it damn quickly, didn't they?
By 5:30 that day.
You damn right they did.
The Soviet Union to this day still directs UFOs, or directs that their pilots will fire upon the UFOs.
It's a big, big mistake.
Absolutely. And they've lost planes as a result of that. The British did a report in 2000, December 2000, that talked about how little knowledge we had of what the what the British or what the Russians did as far as the UFOs that were over there. In December of 2000, the British released a report, and of course people say, well, the British went ahead and said there was nothing to UFOs. The report doesn't state that. The report even goes ahead, talks about radar sightings, about aircraft sightings, and even about possibility of some crashes of our aircraft occurring, their aircraft occurring, because of UFO sightings. They know, and they put this right in the report, that the Soviets make attempts to shoot down UFOs and have lost aircraft in the process. And I have a copy of that entire report.
Okay, but if we're working, you know that our government has got alliances with some of these groups, some of them that are not positive. In other words, what's transpiring on the planet right now is not positive in part because we have a rogue group running the U.S., which is not our government as we knew it at one time.
And that's the greed of man.
Okay? But it's also that they're working with a group of ETs.
Yes.
And therefore, it's not just human against human.
Well-
It's not human against ET. It's human and ET against ET.
You think the good guys aren't watching over us? I'll tell you this right
Absolutely.
now. You have people on this planet that aren't what they seem to be.
That's right.
We call them watchers. And the whole situation is, they're not going to come in and impose their will on us. It's imperative that what truly happens is the will of the people of this planet. But you may have to make sacrifices. But if the powers that be right now choose to listen to the evil side, they'll let that go for a little while. But once it becomes a threat to humanity as a whole, then like what Sergeant Major said, some outside force will step in.
Let me tell you something, if I may interject something, Cliff. The good guys out there, whoever the hell you think they are, and whatever, it doesn't matter, they orchestrated the end of the Cold War. They came over our missile silos here in the United States. They hovered over our missile silos, where we had these intercontinental ballistic missiles that had 12 independently targeted warheads, each one with a 1 megaton warhead, and we were targeting the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union had the same damn thing targeting us. Well, when Reagan was in office and Gorbachev was in office, these good guys came down and hovered over our missile silos, and they not only knocked off the computers They melted the warheads in our missiles. And they scrambled the guidance systems so badly that if the missile had ever gotten out of the silo, God knows where it would have gone. Miami or Schenectady wouldn't have mattered, because it wouldn't have exploded. It would just leave a hole in the ground. They did the same damn thing to Gorbachev's Soviet Union outside of St. Petersburg, outside of Moscow. They hovered over the warheads, melted the warheads, scrambled the guidance systems, and brought an end to the Cold War. Now, it even happened as late as 1980 at Brindlesham Forest at Bentwaters. I talked to Charlie Halt, who was the deputy post commander there, and I said, Colonel, the word I got from a general recently was that they screwed up the warheads and scrambled it. He says, screwed up hell, they stole some of them. Now, these are the good guys, and the good guys said to Gorbachev and to Reagan and to anyone else who was listening, and believe me, the Chinese were paying attention, they said, you guys are not going to screw up this goddamn planet. You're not going to destroy yourselves, that there will not be a nuclear war. We're going to see that you do not do that. And now these are the guys that are in control.
Okay.
Now, let me finish. There are alien groups that are pissing and moaning and among themselves and among us and moving things around and causing trouble here and there. But there is that third party beyond them that's in charge.
Okay. If they're in charge, they're doing a hell of a bad
No,
job.
well, you tell them about it.
I will.
And if you want to run into them and meet one of them face to face, as I have,
I'm sure I have.
you be prepared to give him some guidance on what you think would be the answer.
Well, that's what we're doing here, okay? These people from off-planet, we're their progeny.
We are their family.
That's right. And therefore, we have their genetics. And therefore, like child is father to the man, we have every right to stand up and speak to them and tell them what is right and what is wrong with what is going on here, okay? And that means a lot of the different races. We are related to a lot of races out there, and you know it.
I can see this adolescent child standing up and say, look, Pop, I'm going to tell you what I think needs to be done. And father looks down at the brat and says, well, good, tell me what you think. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep your ass out of trouble. I'm going to see that you don't go to jail. And I'm going to not let you blow yourselves up in the meantime.
Okay, but we have, let's get serious here. We are on the verge of civil war in the United States, and you know it. Both of you, okay? Our
No, there's no.
military is extremely discontented. Our government is, well, the secret government is working very hard to funnel most of the money into their black projects. We've got, in essence, a rogue civilization that's living, going off planet using technology that is wild beyond our wildest dreams. And we are here in what, 2012, and we don't even have cars that fly. We are using old technology. They're demonstrating through NASA. They're taking astronauts off the planet in an unconscionable way, in tin cans that blow up and kill them. I mean, we have a situation here that is actually not in a great state of affairs. And we are on the verge of these games they're playing with chemtrails. They're ruining humans' health across the globe, especially in the United States. We've got underground bases. We've got dulce experimentation on humans that is going through the roof. We've got biological weapons labs across the nation. We've contaminated the planet with radiation from Fukushima, now in north of Chicago, and here in San Onofre, we've got another plant, some of which is being triggered by the powers that be. So they are playing games, and they're not just fun and games. They are very serious games. They are messing with us in a serious way.
They can go ahead and play those games, but the situation is we, an unknowing, unsuspecting public, let it happen. In short, I'm a retired service member. I love this country dearly. If anybody threatened this country, I would lay down my life for our way of life. Out of all the countries in the world, this country right here has the greatest form of government. But what makes it great is the people. And we can talk about the evils of the government and the evils of the industrial complex. But ultimately, we, the people, have the most powerful weapon in the world. This is what it is. And when it comes time to vote, you vote. When you think that there are things that are wrong, you correspond with members of your government. Now, they may not, in the case of UFOs, you better believe I do a lot of writing to a lot of senators and a lot of governmental agencies. And I'm quite sure they hate that. But as I told a major once, when he asked me, what difference does it make to you if the Pentagon has 50 flying saucers? I went ahead and I said, sir, you have the luxury of not knowing the truth. Unfortunately, I do not share that luxury. Now, experiences such as the Sergeant Major's and mine, we may have different experiences. But when you put them all together, they paint a picture. And the situation is, why are we talking? I guarantee you the Sergeant Major loves this country just as much as I do. And we may be old codgers, but if you threaten our way of life, we would take up arms.
I pledged my life for this
There you
country,
go.
and I still hold to that,
And
Cliff.
that pledge is still dear to our heart.
Okay, but you do understand you have
Oh,
a
yes.
government
Oh, yes.
that is ready to put people like you guys and me and probably a few other people in this room in jail for talking about the truth. Because they want to keep secrets and they want to continue with their way, which has become basically a rogue society, okay, behind our backs. Now, Bob Dean, I don't know, I know Bob knows the old boy's secrets, okay? I know he was let in quite a while ago. Were you let in?
They don't want me in.
Okay.
Let me put it to you this way.
Why not?
They don't want me in because the whole situation is, I don't like what's going on, and I wouldn't cooperate. Well, when I first got started in being an interfacer, okay, fine, I went along with it. When I saw we were hurting people, I drew the line in the sand there. That we did not have the right to go ahead and drive people to the edge where they committed suicide, where they lost their families, they lost their job. They would have to go through ridicule because of things that happened to them. When they're involved in something, we give a prosaic explanation knowing that is not the right answer. And I said, no, this isn't right. I have a moral obligation to go ahead, throw myself on my own sword, no matter what people thought of me, no matter if they thought I was crazy, thought I was lying, didn't make any difference. What was important was to go ahead, come out and say, here's what really is going on. Now, why is that important? Because it goes ahead, hopefully, and I had one experience with that since my new book got out, and gives people the courage to say, this is what happened, at least to their families. And they owe that to their families. At some point, they will go ahead and start thinking, we need to come out and talk too.
That's right.
And, you know, it's got to start somewhere.
Okay. So they didn't let you in their old boys network, and yet you were an intuitive. You must have had intuitive knowledge. You were used to contact, to deal with any survivors, isn't that right, in
Correct.
the craft? And so you have a unique ability. So with that same ability, you have the ability to see beyond the facade with the old boys. So although you weren't let in the way he was let in, you still know what he knows. Isn't that right?
I'd agree.
Okay. Bob, they let you in. Why
I've been
did
on
they
the
let you
inside for many, many years, honey. And I've been a maverick.
in? Yes,
I started off
thank God.
quietly, keeping my mouth shut. I got along just fine. Then I became pissed off. I got angry. Has nothing to do with courage. It's anger. I got angry as hell, and I'm a command sergeant major retired, and you don't piss me off and push me too far, because then I start pushing back. So I ended up becoming a threat. Then I became a nuisance. And I've learned since that I am now an asset. The reason I'm alive.
You played their game to some degree.
Well, I played it along to a certain point, and then I reached the same point that Cliff reached. I said, I'm not going any further with this. I saw too many lives ruined. I saw careers ruined, families destroyed, people committing suicide. I saw things, honey, that would curl your hair. And I said, I've had enough of this shit. I'm going to tell the goddamn truth, whether they like it or not. And that's when they threatened my ass. They tried to take my pension away. They harassed me with black helicopters and black SUVs, phone calls at 3 in the morning. I went through the whole 9 yards until I fought back. I says, I'm carrying a gun. I'm a marksman. Don't push me too far. I'm going to start shooting people. And you realize they walked away and backed away from me and left me alone? And here I am, 2012, 83 years old, ornery as ever, and I'm speaking to you with honesty and from my heart.
Okay, but you have friends in high places.
Yes, I do. A few of them are still around. Most of them are dead.
Clifford does as well, and I know I do.
Look, I've known some of the guys in MJ-12, honey, personally.
I'm sure you
And
have.
most of them are dead now. I don't know who the new crowd is because I've been out of touch for quite a while.
Okay.
But they still exist, and they're there. And you call them the black government, you call them the secret government, doesn't matter what you call them, they're there.
But they're still messing with people.
Oh, they're messing with people. Look, you got the Trilateral Commission, you got the Council of Foreign Relations, you got the Bilderbergers, you got all those guys. You call them the Illuminati. That doesn't matter, doesn't mean shit, you know. You call them anything you want, but they exist. But there are powers beyond them.
Great.
And they don't like that.
I understand.
And they don't yet have come to terms with the fact that they can push the human race, the American people, whoever, just so far, and that third party is going to intervene in a big way.
Okay, but what we do is equally as important as that.
Of course it is.
Okay?